The Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to immediately pause a federal judge's ruling that required the administration to fully fund SNAP for the month of November. And we just got word from the Supreme Court that they have granted the Trump administration's request. There are nearly 42 million Americans that rely on the SNAP program. Most of them, as I started the show talking about, children, seniors, or people with disabilities, families across the country. And while multiple states have already sent out some SNAP benefits to some of those people, and I'm not sure how they can be pulled back, hopefully they can't be, SNAP benefits are staggered. So some people get them on the 1st of the month, some on the 2nd or the 3rd or even the 28th. Every state distributes benefits differently. And even within states, the day one person gets their benefits is often different from when another person will. So even though some people may have already received this month's benefits, this decision is going to have an impact, an immediate one, on the lives of millions, if not tens of millions of Americans.
Boy. So we got to talk about liberals who are currently boo-hoo-whining and crying. They're upset over the fact that Ketanji Brown Jackson, the liberal black woman Supreme Court justice, granted the Trump administration a temporary stay, allowing them to not be forced to pay out full SNAP benefits with money that they don't have due to an order from a lower court that came from Obama Judge McConnell, who ordered the administration to fully fund SNAP benefits during the shutdown. Now, again, the administration, they're appealing this ruling, and the reason why they're appealing it is not because they don't want to pay people their SNAP benefits, it's because they literally don't have the money appropriated for these SNAP benefit payouts, right? Like, the government can't pay out money that they don't have, okay? And some of these funds are emergency funds that are supposed to be used for actual emergency situations. The government being shut down due to Democrats trying to rally the far left is not the emergency that the Trump administration had in mind when it comes to being forced to use funds that, again, they really don't have, okay? So Ketanji Brown Jackson, at least from an administrative perspective, temporarily issued this stay to allow the administration to continue to appeal the lower court's order without necessarily ruling on the merits of the case. Take a look.
Now to day 39 of the shutdown and the battle over health care and SNAP benefits. Overnight, a Supreme Court justice granting the Trump administration's emergency appeal regarding funding the program 42 million Americans rely on. ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang has the latest now from Washington. Selena, good morning.
Hey, Rhiannon, good morning to you. And that legal battle over SNAP payments is heating up, but some Americans are finally getting a bit of relief with several states starting to process those food stamp benefits. But millions of Americans are still worried about going hungry.
Overnight, a Supreme Court justice temporarily blocking an order to release fully funded SNAP benefits. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's order coming after the Trump administration appealed a decision from a federal judge who ordered them to pay up. The temporary pause gives the appeals court more time to weigh the legal arguments in the case. Attorney General Pam Bondi posting, a single district court in Rhode Island should not be able to seize center stage in the shutdown, seek to upend political negotiations, and dictate its own preferences for how scarce federal funds should be spent. At least 9 states, including New York, Kansas, Pennsylvania, and Oregon, say they're starting to send full SNAP food assistance benefits. But the 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP are still in limbo. In Cleveland, Ohio, 75-year-old Diane Howard gets just $63 a month in SNAP benefits.
Open up the government so seniors like me and others and people that have children can eat.
And she doesn't know how she can celebrate the upcoming holidays with her family.
Thanksgiving is coming up. I don't know.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, leftists are upset. They're upset with Ketanji Brown Jackson because she granted this temporary stay, which it only really just allows the administration to continue to appeal, right? And it only gives them a couple days, right, to do so. It's not that big of a deal. But again, leftists lost their minds because, again, the whole point of the lower courts forcing Trump to use money that they don't have to pay out these SNAP benefits is to give Democrats more leverage during the government shutdown. So they feel betrayed by Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Y'all want some fucked up news? Baby, the fucking Supreme Court caved, and Ketanji Brown Jackson was a part of the fucking situation. So, you will not be receiving your full SNAP benefits this month. They're sending it back down to the First Circuit courts to rehash the situation. Honestly, I thought the Supreme Court would have stopped this shit. They would have stopped him in his tracks and said, no, while y'all figuring out shit, we're going to go ahead and give the people what they need to survive for the month. But that didn't happen. So now, y'all going to get half of your benefits, and that is it. We're going to have to wait and see what the lower courts say, how they revise their ruling. I don't know how that shit works, but I do know people are going to go hungry. So now it's community.
The fact that it was Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court judge who just paused SNAP benefits from being dispersed it's mind-boggling, and it just shows what direction we are headed in this country. It's sad, it's nasty, it's disrespectful, and literally I just lost so much respect for her. Like, we literally forget where we come from when we get into positions of powers, and that is what just makes it so much more devastating to see someone of her rank go and say, you know what, I think this is the right thing to do. You wanting to starve millions of American families is the right thing to do. And we know most of the recipients that receive SNAP is the working class people, right? We know that the other portion of them is disabled, the elderly, children. Like, what the fuck is y'all doing? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. They're mad. They're pissed off. They're pissed off because they want their food stamps immediately. They can't believe a black woman betrayed them, okay? Especially a liberal black woman. So with that being said, let's get into the Trump administration and their response to what's going on with SNAP and this temporary stay from the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court granting the Trump administration's emergency appeal to temporarily block a court order to fully fund SNAP food aid payments amid the government shutdown.
The order coming as the Agriculture Department was working to comply with the previous order to provide November's SNAP benefits.
Here to react is Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Brooke, it's so great to have you back. We've been talking about ratings. So last week we had you on to talk about SNAP. You posted that, and you got 40 million views. I want to ask you about what's happening with that ruling last night, but tell me why you think that went so viral.
Well, it's interesting, Rachel. I have been doing this for a really long time, and we talked about this last Saturday, that listen, people want the government open. They want those who are the most vulnerable, who are hungry, to make sure that they are fed. That's the SNAP program. But within all of that, the level of fraud and corruption and double dipping and selling benefits is astounding. And I think it hit a nerve with America to have our discussion. 40 million people watch it about how corrupt the SNAP program is, how we have to fix it. I think just tells you that Americans are paying attention and they're not okay with government as usual. We need to clean the house up, and that's what we're doing.
So the Center for Immigration Studies has found that anywhere from 50 to 60% of households that are headed by illegal immigrants rely on SNAP benefits and other programs similar to that. Is there a problem with that?
Well, we, at almost the very beginning, I think on my first day, I sent a letter to every governor in America saying, send us your data. No illegal aliens on any SNAP or food stamp or WIC program, period, full stop. Everyone said, oh, no, we're not doing that. It is illegal. I mean, it is not allowable. However, the 29 states, mostly red states, that sent us their data, what we found was really astounding. And now we're in lawsuits to get the rest of the data so that we can work to fix this. So there is no doubt that there is a massive, massive fraud in the program. But having said that, absolutely,
Especially in blue states like New York, California, where they are definitely allowing illegals on SNAP. Okay. At the very least, we know there's a loophole in the system where illegals who come into this country and they have children, they're eligible for SNAP. Now, here's the crazy part about that. When these illegals go and apply for SNAP on behalf of their anchor babies, okay, their incomes are not considered. So these illegals, if they're working under the table, that income is not considered. So not only are they working under the table, not paying taxes, also they're getting government benefits because of the fact that they have anchor babies. They have kids that technically are American citizens because they were born in this country. So that is how they not only avoid paying taxes, okay, on their income because they're likely being paid under the table because they're here illegally, but also on top of that, they're getting more food stamps and their income is not being considered because of the fact that they have children. That is how they get over the system.
The Democrats have voted 15 times to not fund SNAP. There are legitimate families in this country that rely on that program to feed their family. We got to get the government open.
Right. So, Madam Secretary, what is your reaction to this judge's ruling?
Well, so last night, just to very quickly summarize for everyone, the Constitution, basically the executive branch takes the money from from Congress, from the legislative branch. This goes back to the very beginning. We just can't create money out of the sky. That's not how the United States work. Right. It's interesting, the No Kings rally, right, where they said, we don't want a king in America, except now they want a king that can create money out of the sky, the clear blue sky. And so a very leftist judge in Rhode Island said, oh, go create the money, everybody, go find it. And then the First Circuit basically agreed with that. But last night, y'all, Judge Ketanji Brown, no great friend of, free market and constitutional government, said, no, we need to stay this for 48 hours. The First Circuit needs to take another good look at this, that this probably is not constitutional. You can't just create money to fund a program that Congress refuses to fund.
All right, Secretary, we want to get to this because President Trump just posted this on social media last.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to see what happens when it comes to SNAP. But the reality is that you can't have judges forcing the federal government to pay out funds that they may or may not have, right? That is up for the federal government to decide, okay, in regards to whether or not the funds are available, considering how we're in a shutdown. And because we're in a shutdown, the funds are not available, right? They're usually appropriated by Congress. They don't have it. They don't have the money. If they don't have the money, then they don't got the money, right? So at this point, Democrats, if, they want people to get their food stamps, they're going to have to agree to open up the government. And as long as Democrats continue to grandstand for the far left, people are going to not get their food stamp benefits. And that's just where we're at. And I can imagine that the administration is still going to appeal it. They are trying to issue partial payments to people, okay? They don't want the judiciary deciding how and when they, pay out money or how to find money and what they have to do. At the end of the day, the whole point of these judges ruling against the Trump administration in the first place was to give Democrats more leverage, okay? They're trying to help Democrats when it comes to the shutdown. And, yeah, we can't have that. So we're going to see what happens. But Ketanji Brown Jackson issuing this stay was certainly not something that was on my radar. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.